By 1978, China held nearly a billion people across a massive landmass, yet it remained entirely sealed off from the outside world. Looking at this 1978 global export bar chart, you have to scroll all the way down to 32nd place to find China. It sits buried under nations with a fraction of its population and resources. The country possessed a massive, able-bodied workforce, but its domestic economy was intentionally disconnected from international trade routes and supply chains. It was an economic black hole. It had immense gravity and density, but it projected absolutely zero influence onto the global market. In December of that year, the leadership under Deng Xiaoping recognized a harsh reality. Modernizing their industry and boosting the economy was entirely impossible without an injection of foreign capital. They introduced the open door policy. The explicit goal was to invite outside businesses and foreign money directly into the country. This sudden shift created a massive systemic tension. The government had to figure out how to let global capitalism operate inside its borders while maintaining strict centralized political control. This stylized map of China's coastline shows how they solved that problem. They didn't open the entire country at once. They ran a highly controlled geographic experiment. In 1980, they established 4 special economic zones in Shenzhen, Zhuhai, Shantou, and Xiamen. A special economic zone, or SEZ, is a geographic area where trade and business laws are intentionally looser. These 4 cities were chosen for their immediate proximity to existing capitalist wealth, sitting directly adjacent to affluent hubs like Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. Inside these zones, the government slashed taxes and offered up a vast low-wage labor pool. The goal was to attract foreign direct investment, which is when outside companies spend their own money to build physical factories and infrastructure in another country. These areas functioned as economic quarantine zones. They allowed the state to extract foreign wealth and build up local infrastructure, all while keeping the unpredictable influence of free market capitalism tightly contained away from the broader mainland. The physical results were immediate. Shenzhen rapidly morphed from a rudimentary coastal village into a dense, towering metropolis. This line chart tracks that physical transformation through the data. Between 1981 and 1993, Shenzhen maintained an average annual growth rate of 40%, completely towering over the national average of 9.8%. That localized economic energy quickly bled inland. By 1989, China had doubled its total world trade, completely replacing its old insular domestic model. By 2010, the momentum had captured over 10.4% of the global market share. China was officially operating as the world's factory. 3 years later, in 2013, the volume of imports and exports hit $4.16 trillion. At that exact moment, China overtook the United States to become the dominant trading nation on Earth. The coastal experiment succeeded so completely that it hijacked the global supply chain. The international market was now entirely dependent on Chinese manufacturing to function. Western observers often misunderstood the core intent of the 1978 policy. The leadership never intended for China to permanently serve as a cheap labor destination. As this flow diagram illustrates, the long-term objective was to accumulate massive reserves of foreign capital and then eventually reverse the flow back out into the globe. China shifted from a passive manufacturer into an aggressive global buyer. They began executing outward direct investment, which means they started purchasing foreign businesses, ports, and real estate across the planet. The wealth generated by building the world's products was deliberately weaponized to buy physical pieces of the world itself. By the 2020s, under Xi Jinping, the leadership recognized the global landscape had become far more volatile. They needed to adapt the 1978 playbook. The resulting strategy is dual circulation. It builds a powerful domestic market, the large gear, while engaging in international trade, the smaller gear. If global trade stutters due to tariffs, the massive internal gear keeps turning smoothly, insulating the country from external shocks. Over 4 decades, a desperate plea for foreign capital evolved into the structural bedrock of a self-sustaining, globally dominant economic empire.